You know what everyone struggles with in their fitness journey? Most guys don't mind training, some even enjoy it, but nutrition, that stuff is boring. The rigid diets and sticking to them, missing out on your favorite foods, not getting derailed by events, drinks, meals out, maintaining that long term and finding something that doesn't mean that you rebound back to square one because you're always looking for the finish line, the end of the diet. That's the key to getting some incredibly good results and actually being able to master fitness for life. So in less than 10 minutes, I'm going to teach you everything that you need to get a result like this, because my guys don't pay me for another nutrition plan. They pay me so that they never need another plan. I'm going to run you through the exact approach that we use, because I don't believe in starving my clients and leaving things to guesswork. I actually have a very intentional way of managing their nutrition. So the first thing that I do when it comes to setting up a nutrition plan for a client is taking into account their current eating habits, okay? Do they have breakfast? Do they not have breakfast? What times do they eat? What times do they work? What foods are they typically eating day to day? A bit of a current food diary is always going to be very, very useful, because it's going to give you an insight into what those current habits look like. If nutrition looks drastically different right off the bat to what you are doing right now, you're going to have a very hard time not only actually achieving that in the first place, but maintaining it. If it requires loads of additional meal prep, if it requires tons more meals than you'd normally have, think of the typical outdated 6-7 meals a day that bodybuilders have. Of course, you're going to have a really rough time sticking to that. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is actually just figure out what fits into your routine. 3 to 4 meals is usually a happy medium for most guys. Fits in very nicely for breakfast, lunch, afternoon snack, so we don't have a huge massive gap waiting for dinner. The reason that we don't like just giving macro and calorie targets is because it just leaves way too much to guesswork. This is where a lot of people will then be like, well, if I don't have an afternoon snack or I have a very tiny lunch, then I can fit in a cookie with dinner because it fits my macros. But you're giving yourself way more of an uphill battle. If you're very, very hungry, you're going to have a hard time staying consistent. This is where a lot of people then binge and go off track with their diets. But by the same token, you don't want to eliminate all your favorite foods. You need a little bit of flexibility there. So what on earth do you do? Because again, if you're not managing that structure of your nutrition throughout the day, then you might be at risk of your appetite running you off track. You might run the risk of your cravings running you off track. And there are certainly things that we can do from a nutrition perspective to manage this. So the next thing that we do when we know what current nutrition looks like is make some little tweaks based off that to create a very easy step forward. If a client comes to me and they're just having cornflakes for breakfast, just some cereal, well, we know that a little bit more volume is going to be appreciated with that. We know that more protein is going to help not only to keep you a little bit fuller for the day. A lot of people don't eat much in the morning and then wonder why they have all those cravings after dinner. And it's also, of course, going to make it a lot easier to hit your protein target if we start with something a little bit higher protein in the day. So there is loads and loads of bang for buck just by having a higher protein breakfast. I'm not about to tell someone who only has time for some cereal in the morning that they need to go cook eggs and bacon. It could be as simple as, instead of milk with the cereal, just have some Greek yogurt or something. It's going to have loads more protein in it. We can already add some fruit in there, which a lot of people neglect throughout their day. Something like a yogurt bowl is going to be much, much lower hanging and give us loads and loads of bang for our buck just from that easy little switch. So for example, we'd add something like that in, okay? Just really, really low hanging fruits. We'd maybe look at, through their first few meals, maybe distributing fats a little bit differently throughout the day. So maybe some nut butter at breakfast. This is to help manage blood sugars primarily, so that we can keep energy throughout. We can avoid that afternoon dip. It also helps with hunger management, particularly our poly and mono unsaturated fatty acids. So maybe lunch, we could have like a taco bowl or something, some chicken, some avocado, some rice, maybe some beans for some fiber as well. So if my clients are telling me, yeah, I sometimes prep some chicken and rice to take to work, cool, maybe we can add just a little bit of avocado or some easy fat source to that to give us a little bit more dietary fat in that meal. Just a little tweaks on what my guys are already doing that makes it very, very low barrier. They can stick to it consistently, and it's already going to have some huge, huge input there. Appetite is going to be better regulated. Their cravings are better regulated. Their energy is up, so it's easier to get in their steps throughout the day, easier to make it to the gym after work because they don't have that afternoon crash. just these little things from a nutrition perspective all really add up. But the beautiful thing is it's all actually structured around them. The same goes for dinner. If they like having spaghetti bolognese for dinner, I'm not going to say, no, you need to eat bland chicken, rice, and veg. And that is where part 2 of this system comes in. This is going to be our swaps and meal options. So if I go to meal 4, for example, dinner, if my client says, well, sometimes I'll have a curry for dinner, sometimes I'll have a stir fry, sometimes I'll have pasta bolognese, for example. So let's go with option 1. Okay, let's go with pasta bolognese. So we're going to get some beef. We're just going to plan out the main ingredients for the meals. I don't believe in tracking vegetables. I just believe that is a constant. Just have a few servings of veg with most of your meals. So let's go ahead and add in that. Not pasta, that's not what it is in here. It's going to be under fusilli, for example. Cool. So that's going to be added to dinner, and we're maybe going to budget a little bit of olive oil to cook the beef, for example. Okay. So I've got, say, 50 grams of pasta, just to make the numbers really, really easy to roll with. And we've got, let's say, 150 beef. Okay, easy enough. So option number 2, maybe they like to have curry. So now we're going to add on another option. We're going to go with the main ingredients of curry. We're going to go with chicken breast. We're going to add in some rice. And we're going to add in maybe some coconut milk or something for the curry sauce. So let's go with some light coconut milk. And once again, we're going to go 50 and 150. And we can actually still add in a little bit of olive oil, just a little teaspoon, to help cook that in. Cool, so there's option 2. So as you can see here, we've got 2 meals where we've got pretty identical macros, literally 1 gram off in terms of protein, 10 calories difference in terms of their calorie intake. They know that they could have this or they could have that, and it will add up to the same thing. Now, a lot of people have already started doing this, so we take it then one step further, okay? I have my little easy swaps technique. So over time, this becomes very, very intuitive. You start to get to grips with it. But effectively, most of your lean protein sources, say chicken breast, beef mince, etc., are all going to be very, very similar calories and protein for a given quantity, say 100 grams. The same applies for things like a lot of our carbohydrates. White rice, white pasta, per 100 grams, going to be pretty much equal. And you can see how this plays out on the nutrition plan. So a good quality meal is going to have a good source of protein, it's going to have some carbs, and if it's a lean protein like these are, then we're going to top that up with some additional fats. Or if we're having a fattier protein like maybe salmon or steak, then we probably don't need to add any additional fats to that meal. So hopefully you can start seeing how, well, actually, yeah, here we've put that we're going to have beef and pasta, but there's nothing to stop us from making a chicken pasta with maybe some pesto instead of olive oil for some additional fats in there. Yeah, this says chicken and rice, but there's nothing saying that we couldn't have, I don't know, some salmon and rice and just leave out the coconut milk and the olive oil. So from these couple of options, my clients start to get to grips with this technique that lets them have literally an endless variety of food that they could cook up however they please. Chicken and rice and olive oil, that could be a stir fry, just a slightly different veg to what you would have with a curry. The opportunities are endless, and they don't need to faff around looking at the backs of food packets, adding up every single calorie perfectly, because then that, of course, takes us into eating out. What do you do at events? Well, obviously, in a dieting phase, this is a little bit different to, say, just maintaining your weight loss. You've got a little bit more margin there, a little bit more freedom and flexibility. But if you take your nutrition as written, a protein source, carb source, fat source, then if you're looking for something similar on a menu, you're taking into account a little bit of a decision-making process. I teach my guys the ins and outs of, what is going to make a difference when we're eating out. Obviously, a bit of preparation work in terms of knowing where we're eating, what might be on the menu is key. But if you've got to mitigate damage, then obviously grilled versus fried makes a big difference. Something with a very creamy sauce versus you can already account for something being cooked in a bit of oil. So stick to the leaner sources of protein where possible. That all starts to add up. So when they use this, and then that already keeps them so on track through most of the week that if they have a little meal out, they don't need to worry that they can't track their calories for that meal out, because with the right decision-making process, they already start to get to grips with that. And if you want someone to work through all of this for you, set up something completely personalized for your structure, your preferred meals, teach you the exact ropes so that you can master nutrition around a demanding lifestyle, around a career and family life, then of course, link to work with me is below. You can check out some of the success stories on our website and let me know if you fancy working with me. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.